Joining us now is media strategist for Maha PAC, Caitlin Sinclair. Caitlin, thanks for your time today. You were formerly the official spokeswoman for Turning Point Action during the election campaign last year. We, of course, spoke a lot leading up to November 2024. But look, right now, we are seeing the left being just so disgusting about Charlie Kirk's murder. Here's former US President Barack Obama, who cannot help himself but declare that Charlie Kirk's ideas were wrong to a sick audience who were cheering those comments.
Obviously, I didn't know Charlie Kirk. I was generally aware of some of his ideas. I think those ideas were wrong. But that doesn't negate the fact that what happened was a tragedy and that I mourn for him and his family.
Caitlin, Charlie Kirk said this best. You can tell a lot about a person by how they react when someone dies. And listening to the applause there, the cheering in the crowd, it says so much about them that they cannot help themselves. They have to cheer Barack Obama when he declares that Charlie Kirk's ideas were wrong. Charlie Kirk was murdered just a week ago. Can I get your thoughts on this?
I'm in utter shock. I mean, it's disgusting that this is how certain people in this country are reacting to a murder. So Obama thinks that Charlie Kirk's idea, Gabriella, of praying for the guidance of Jesus Christ was wrong. Charlie's ideas of rational and polite debate with college students and educating young people was wrong, or that marriage should be between a man and a woman. You can't change your sex. Obama believes all of that was wrong. What ideas exactly is he referring to? There should have never been a but in his sentence. Correct. Saying that he condemns this murder, but adding the word but. There is no but when it comes to murder. There is no but when it comes to Charlie Kirk and the good that he did for this country. And he also mentioned Donald Trump in that speech. Obama stood on that stage, not only pointed the finger at our president, but pointed the finger at the American people that supported this man, that supported Charlie, not the shooter. He didn't point the finger at the shooter, not the system that actually has failed us. So this message and this speech was so backwards on so many levels.
So backwards. And we do have that part of the speech where Barack Obama decides to blame Donald Trump while speaking about Charlie Kirk's assassination. Here it is.
We have to recognize that on both sides, undoubtedly, there are people who are extremists and who say things that are contrary to what I believe are America's core values. But I will say that those extreme views were not in my White House. I wasn't embracing them. I wasn't empowering them. I wasn't putting the weight of the United States government behind extremist views.
Not in my White House. Look at him. I can't even believe it. But let's talk about Jimmy Kimmel. ABC has announced that it's pulling the Jimmy Kimmel Live late night show off air indefinitely after his disgusting lies about Charlie Kirk's death. Now, Jimmy Kimmel's opening monologue from Monday night's show suggested that suspected killer Tyler Robinson was aligned with MAGA. Listen to this.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between the finger pointing, there was grieving. On Friday, the White House flew the flags at half-staff.
An ABC spokesman said that Jimmy Kimmel Live will be preempted indefinitely, and a Nexstar media group said that Nexstar strongly objects to recent comments made by Mr. Kimmel concerning the killing of Charlie Kirk and will replace the show with other programming in its ABC-affiliated markets. I mean, good riddance. Why is the left so deranged? They're trying to pretend that this murderous monster was part of MAGA. Caitlin, what do you make of this?
Well, not only are they trying to spin the narrative like they normally do, but now you have leftists and elitists and members of Hollywood taking to social media feeling bad for Jimmy Kimmel. And just to get some facts straight here, Jimmy Kimmel did not get canceled. This was not quote, cancel culture at play, Gabriella. Jimmy Kimmel lost his job because of the clip you just played, because he spread lies, saying that MAGA and our people are the ones that were responsible here. This is the exact same type of rhetoric that created the monster that murdered my friend Charlie. If someone had questioned anything about George Floyd in a TV comedy monologue back in 2020, you and I and all of your viewers listening tonight know that he or she would have been fired on the spot. So why should it be different for a conservative? Why should it be different for a young Jesus-loving conservative like Charlie? And I think this is a warning message to the mainstream media, the legacy media, the left media, whatever we're calling them nowadays, because I don't think they're so mainstream, but pushing their twisted narratives as truth is no longer going to stand. I think the American mind is breaking. We refuse now to let you manipulate us and our kids. So all the comedy specialists and TV monologue writers better be very careful, because I think this is a warning.
Yeah, exactly right. Well, it's interesting. Charlie Kirk seems to be right about absolutely everything. Back in 2017, he wrote this on X: Jimmy Kimmel isn't funny. Well, he's absolutely right about that. And I think ABC has made the right decision by pulling Jimmy Kimmel Live off air. Now, although this leftist psychopath has tried to silence Charlie, they, of course, have made his movement unstoppable. TP USA has received over 54,000 new chapter requests nationwide. Now, Charlie Kirk's life goal was to get to 20,000 chapters, so it's more than doubled that now. And, of course, Turning Point USA is the fastest growing political organisation in the entire world. Caitlin, what are your thoughts on how this movement is just growing, especially after what happened so tragically last week?
Yeah, Charlie would have been so proud. I really think this is the pendulum swinging, and it's coming back with a vengeance. That's what we're seeing across the country, especially on college campuses. I could tell you from my time last year spent with Charlie on these college campuses, young people are done. They're done with being silenced. They're done with being punished for being or speaking their conservative views. They're done with being fed lies. They're done with the indoctrination. They're done with trying to have their minds stolen, and they're furious. They're furious at the censorship, the cancel culture. They're furious at a system that told them it was not okay to express their views. So the hard truth is the other side is refusing to accept what this movement is now going to become. They messed with the wrong people. Gen Zers and Gen Alpha are about to be some of the most conservative generations. I believe this to my core that we have ever witnessed. You cannot stop a movement that was forged in fire. And that's what we're witnessing right now. People are waking up in waves, and they're looking for real leadership, real community, and a real mission. And that's exactly what Turning Point USA represents.
Absolutely. And Charlie Kirk was a real leader. There was no one like him. But I suppose the silver lining in this is we are seeing right now more and more young people feeling called to go to church for the very first time. And of course, Charlie wanted to be remembered for his faith. Are you seeing that? Are you seeing more and more churches being packed out, people buying Bibles? Talk to us about what you're seeing.
I would love to. I think we should call this the Charlie effect. What we're seeing right now is nothing short of a true revival. In this past week, thousands have shared on social media that for the first time they bought a Bible, or they prayed for the first time, or they visited or walked into church with their family and their young kids for the first time. And Gabriella, I was actually one of those people. I went to church for the first time in years this past Sunday because of Charlie. And I want to tell all your viewers, during my time at Turning Point, I shared with some of my family there how I was struggling with my faith. And I want to share the conversations I had. There was never any judgment. These conversations were meant with encouragement. They wanted to uplift me. And those are the kind of people that Charlie hired. That's the kind of culture that Charlie built. That spirit that was trying to fuel everyone's faith. And I think that's what we're witnessing right now. It's inspiring a whole generation to reconnect with something real, something deeper and stronger, because this is so much more than politics.
Yeah.
And I can speak firsthand to that. I was one of those people, and I will continue to work on my faith in honor of Charlie.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us. I know so many people can relate. And I tell you what, Right here in Sydney, Australia, it is happening too. So many people are feeling called to go to church for the first time, and that is part of Charlie Kirk's legacy, the Charlie effect, as you put it. Now, this weekend, Charlie Kirk's memorial will be held in Arizona, and Turning Point USA has unveiled the massive speaker lineup, including, of course, Erica Kirk, President Trump, JD Vance, Marco Rubio, RFK Jr., Pete Hegseth, Tulsi Gabbard, Tucker Carlson, Stephen Miller. I mean, it's going to be powerful, it's going to be moving, and I'm bracing myself for it because we've had a lot of heartbreak, but I think it's going to be a really powerful memorial.
Oh, yes, I will be there alongside my Turning Point family and colleagues and patriots from all over the country. And as you just mentioned, we have leaders and voices that I think will be able to speak to the gravity of what we just witnessed last week. And most in attendance, I think it's fair to say, if not all, will still be mourning and grieving. But I think also standing this weekend with unbreakable strength and determination is what we're going to see. We've witnessed this incredible resilience among Americans in this past week. And I think this gathering will actually be a chance to feed off of each other's energy, to feed off of that four-letter word that is so important right now, and that is hope.
Yeah,
I think we all need that. We all need to spread that message, and we're going to come together to remember that, to heal, and to recommit our determination to the fight that Charlie inspired. So it will be great.
It will. Caitlin, before I let you go, I've got to ask you about the MAHA movement and fired CDC Director Dr. Susan Monarez. She's been grilled over recommending vaccines such as the Hep B vaccine for infants. Now, this was during a Senate hearing on RFK Jr.'s decision to oust Susan Monarez last month. And this was about, of course, the childhood vaccine schedule. Now, here is Rand Paul putting some questions to her, which she just refused to answer. Listen to this.
What is the medical, scientific reason and proof for giving a newborn a hepatitis B vaccine if the mom is Hep B negative?
I want to go back to the assertion associated.
What is the medical reason for giving a hepatitis B vaccine to a newborn? See, everybody's like blithely going along. We can't change the childhood. You're somehow terrible if you want to change the childhood. We should be discussing what is the childhood vaccine schedule, and the burden should be on you. You want to make all the kids take this? The burden is upon you and the people you wouldn't fire to prove to us that we need to give our 6-month-old a COVID vaccine and that we need to give our 1-day-old a hepatitis B vaccine. That's what the debate ought to be about, not whether all vaccines are good or whether we live in Alice in Wonderland.
Interesting watching that there, Caitlin. She couldn't answer.
Of course not, because these people have no answers because they've all been bought by big pharma, by big agriculture. And I think what Senator Rand Paul did today was he sent a political earthquake through Washington and a shiver down the spine of every single parent in this country. I truly believe that every young mom was standing there watching this, actually getting the chills. Former CDC director, she showed up today with anti-Trump lawyers and no facts. She was passing notes the whole time, whispering back and forth. And like you just alluded to, she had no answers. She had no answers for questions that every young parent or parent in this country really deserves. And Rand Paul didn't just challenge a bureaucrat. He challenged a total narrative that we've been fed for so many years. So I think this is just the beginning. She also accidentally admitted that our Secretary Kennedy, is going to change the vaccine schedules for kids. No longer will we just accept the status quo. And that means asking the hard questions, continuing to show up and ask these questions. We saw real leadership today. And I think the American people are going to refuse to accept weak answers. No longer will we accept those when our children's lives are on the line. So
Absolutely.
Today, truth was demanded and the accountability has only just begun.
Caitlin Sinclair, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.